there, you're watching QTV this morning. I am your host, Jenna Vasonko, and joined by my amazing co-host, Ibrahim Balde.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We are back again on another edition of This Morning here on QTV Geneva.
Yep.
It's Thursday. The week is already gone.
Thursday la mota nga door sambahan.
Wow, mota mo door suma mbuba African bepa def suma kopoti. You know, I like the light green.
Yeah, this is from Is Adam. She's doing extremely well for all the hijabs out there, or even people who are not hijabs. If you just want to be modest at some point, sometimes you can wear these. So she did this for me since the Ramadan, but for some reason I just felt like getting into it today.
It's beautiful. It looks very comfortable.
Sure, it is.
Mine is done by H. Closet, Hussein. H. Closet, this guy has a great taste for clothing, and he's a very good designer. I love it. I'm feeling very comfortable right now. Yeah.
So, moving on, seems today is the last day of the week for us here. So it's quite sad when it's Thursday, because at some point we'd have to, you know, leave you till Monday again. But before we go into the program proper, we'll just give you a rundown of some of the things that we have for you today. As usual, we have the African proverbs, your favorite part and my favorite part of the program. And moving on, we'll also have the newspaper review. We'll be joined by Mamadou Lamin Choi. Mamadou Lamin Choi is right here to help us answer some of the questions that we have for him in relation to the headlines on the papers. Also, Community Watch, we will take a look at that. Also, social issues. We'll be talking about President Adama Barrow's Meet the People's Tour. And we'll be joined by Ami Bojang Sisaho, Director of Press and Public Relations Office of the President. And also Click segment, we will take a look at an interview done by Abuba Fati. So it seems that is all we have for today. So what is our motivational quote? What is our African proverb?
It's a very, very important one, Janaba.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the one we have today leads to the failure of many people, especially the business environment.
Yeah.
Don't set sail using someone else's star.
Okay. What does that mean to you?
Avoid copying someone else just because someone has been successful in what he or she does. Should not be what will make you do the same thing and expect to be successful.
Yeah.
You understand? So we have a lot of problems today in the world generally. Most people will see a particular person being successful on something, and you think, okay, why not I just use the shortcut? Let me just copy and paste. Copy and paste is a problem, and it's causing a lot of failure, Geneva.
Yes, it's a problem, especially in the business environment, because since Jammeh left, you can see that young people in the Gambia have attracted a lot of support in relation to entrepreneurship. And right now, you could see that a lot of businesses are duplicated. I don't have a problem with you doing a business that someone is already doing, but my problem is that you have to do your research. We talked about this yesterday. You have to do the proper research and understand the market to be able to be successful about it. And also, another thing is, sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean that the individual has copied just because somebody implemented something first. That is why yesterday also we talked about the fact that when you have a business idea or any idea that you have, make sure to implement it as soon as possible. Because next minute, you can't prove to people that you did not copy someone else's
started the business.
idea. And again, another thing is, even if you're doing the same thing because you had the idea prior, make sure to research. Just because an individual is doing it and the person made it in that particular area does not also mean that you're going to make it. So, and again, this also takes me to the duplication of efforts that we have in the country. In the country here, now we have a lot of organizations, especially youth organizations, doing exactly the same thing. I don't have a problem with it. But how about partnering? You know, partnership is very important. Instead of doing the same thing, having Ibrahim Abalde do the same thing in the same spot and I come and do it. It's a waste of resources. It's a duplication of effort. So let's try by all means to come together, partner, and implement certain things.
I'll just connect the saying, unity is strength.
Sure.
And Jeremiah, right now, when you look at some of the businesses that we have in this country, sometimes I think business owners tend to be in a haste to yield profit. At times, business doesn't work like that. I mean, sometimes it has to take you at least 6 months or so for you to be able to be successful. You can see a particular person establish a business, you know, and at the end of the time, you know, the person is successful. But you don't know what this guy have gone through to get to that stage.
Sure.
You know, I'll take a brighter example. I have this guy that sells coffee at Westfield. He's a very famous guy. Everybody knows him. There are also people who are selling coffee.
But he's better
But
at
if
it.
you come to his place, people gather a lot. People come to him to buy coffee. So it means this guy have been there. I asked him today, how long have you spent? He said, a very long time.
Yeah.
People know me.
Which means he has mastered his craft.
He said even high authority, they come and campaign at my side.
And that means he has mastered his craft.
Absolutely.
And again, this also takes me to another thing. Sometimes as young people, there are people that we want to look up to because we like them. We like the work that they're doing. But let me tell you something. It doesn't mean that you have to copy exactly how this particular individual that you're looking up to is doing their things. I can only be Jainaba, and they cannot be a Jainaba like Jainaba. Ibrahima can be Ibrahima. They cannot be another Ibrahima like Ibrahima.
Absolutely.
Each individual, you have something that is special about you. So the thing is, do not copy anyone.
Sometimes each and every person, you have what we call hiding talent. It's a matter of just trying to see what is your talent. You don't have to copy, because Jainaba is doing your dialogue. Doesn't mean that if I do your dialogue, I will be like Jainaba. Maybe I can find a different way of approaching it to, you know, to be better. You understand? You can be better.
For me, for example, I love Sophie Ikenya a lot of BBC. I love Oprah as well. I love how they do their work. But the way they read, the way Sophie reads, I don't read that way. And the moment I try to copy exactly the way she reads the news, I'm going to fail.
Well,
it won't work.
It's good that
it's
good that you have a mentor. It's good that you have a person that you look up to.
But you shouldn't copy them exactly.
Exactly. Find your own way. At least let it be a little different. Maybe people will like you because of the difference. Because most people will be seeing the same thing.
Exactly.
You know. So it's important for us to start doing our own thing, Jainaba.
Yeah, I think we needed to talk about this in depth, because this is a serious problem happening in the country when it comes to copying and all of that. And it's not just in the Gambia, it's a global problem when it comes to people copying people to actually do what they want to do. I think we did justice to this particular quote, and the time we gave to it was worth it as well. So let's take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we will head right on to the newspaper review, and we are joined by our colleague Mamadou Lamin Choi to help us analyze some of the stories that we have on the papers. Do stay tuned.
To make sure your company's products and services reach your potential customers, it is essential that you choose the right channel for your marketing purposes. QTV has the widest reach locally and beyond, and we can give your business the visibility it needs. Call QTV Marketing on +220 324 4444 or email us at marketing@qtv.gm and take your business to the world. Join the Gambia's fastest growing network and enjoy high-speed 4G LTE. Dial *335# to subscribe to QCell's 4G LTE service. There's no need to swap your SIM. QCell, Senior Boss. We innovate, others follow. Join the
Welcome back from that break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ibrahim Balde.
Jainaba, where is the amazing?
Yeah, by my amazing co-host, Ibrahim
Don't
Balde.
let that
I need
amazing.
to take that again. So moving on, we will head right on to the newspaper review. Is that Standard?
This is the Standard newspaper. Yes. Let's take a look at the headlines of the Standard newspaper. Father in mile 2 for allegedly raping daughter. New party leader says Jammeh should be pardoned. GDC councillor defects to NPP. Ex-APRC treasurer refutes Fabakar Tombong Jatta's missing millions claim. APRC man who accused Rambo of bribery reports to police after selling Senegalese interest, FAR oil, to focus on Gambia well. Mother of 2 allegedly commits suicide. Wow, very sad.
All right, so moving on the Fourier, we have nurses and midwives embark on industrial action. Health Minister asks nurses to resume work as payment of approved allowances has already started. And also, farmers in URR in limbo as they struggle to have access to fertilizer. Minister Samata reveals government's plans to improve Gambia's health sector. WHO ref says over 1.3 million people globally die of road accident. That's all we have on fire.
Okay, let's take a look at the Voice newspaper. Ministry of Health warns striking nurses. Gambia for All calls for dialogue between Health Ministry and nurses. And of course, population-based COVID-19 zero prevalence study in the Gambia. Minister Ba attends Nairobi Tourism Recovery Summit. My people.
All right, so today, I know I'm about to start from somewhere that is quite unexpected, because I know with these catchy headlines, you're expected that we should start somewhere. But I'm about to surprise you, because we're about to start with something that is quite neglected in different countries. So thank you so much for joining us, Mamadou Lamin Choi, on the Newspaper Review.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to join you guys on this platform.
All right, so Mamadou Lamin Choi, let's talk about mental health, because we've seen that mother of two allegedly commit suicide. But putting mental health forward, why the need? How do you safeguard your mental health as an individual? Because I think mental health really at some point is not given the necessary attention.
Yes, it's true that you know, the situation happens this way. I think you know, it's something that government, the structure needs to be established, you know, to put in place to ensure that these people are given psychosocial support. You know, these people are given the treatment that they deserve, because if not, when somebody is depressed, somebody is in distress, you know, that can also contribute to mental health. And if there is no institution, or if there is no structure that is put in place to ensure that these people will be supported in one way or the other, by giving them the necessary psychosocial support, and then, you know, to get them back, you know, on their minds and back to their usual mode and so on and so forth, it becomes very difficult, and it will lead to situations like, you know, the committing of suicide.
Mamadou, I think when we talk about mental health in this instance as well, you know, putting government aside, there are a lot of factors at some point that actually lead to somebody having mental health issues to the extent of deciding to take their lives, because there's somewhere that you need to stop before you even get the rehabilitation process. So as an individual, at a personal level, what do you do to kind of safeguard your mental health, to make sure that you control stress, and to make sure, you know, your mental health is a priority? How do you walk towards that? Because it's a process before it gets to someone committing suicide.
Absolutely. It is true that people face this problem, but at my personal level, that's what we call stress management. You know, you have the family, you know, at the family level, it is a collective effort. You alone cannot do it. You alone cannot manage, you know, the situation, your mental, you know, problems. I think at the personal level, what I will do is to always rely on the family, rely on somebody that you trust. Because whenever you have problem, there must be somebody in place that you will speak to, somebody who will, you know, make you relieve, somebody will give you advice, somebody will bring comfort to your life. But when you have a problem, when you are in stress and you end up going into isolation, that will really, you know, worsen the situation. So for me, I will avoid being, you know,
isolated.
Okay.
Isolated.
Let's take a look at that thing you said. You need someone to talk to, but there are other societies that you cannot talk to other people. When you share certain things with them, they prefer maybe going out and revealing some of those things. How do you find yourself? If you find yourself in such a society, what do you do?
Yes, usually sometimes it is difficult to find somebody you completely trust. You have you know, absolute trust. It's quite difficult. But at my personal level, you have your mother, you have your father, you have your immediate family. Maybe that will be your father or your mother or your wife. Somebody you will confide in your problems, who will give you advice. Jennifer asked the question, how do I manage it at my personal level?
Yeah, it's important.
At our personal level, it is your family that is closer to you. Even at work, you can have, you know, friends there. You have people that you assess and then know that these are people that you can confide in, that you can trust, and then share your, you know, problems with, and they can help you heal. along the way.
All right. So I think the reason why I deliberately decided that we start with this is because mental health, this is not about government or institutions even put in place to protect people, because at some point there's not much they can do, because most of the time when the people who are affected, when they reach there, the damage has been done. But I decided to ask this just for us to reflect on the fact that it is important that we safeguard our mental health. People say prioritize your stress. At some point, you don't have to allow every little thing to stress you, which is quite hard, and it comes with a lot of fighting in and out. But thank you so much for giving us those tips that people can use. So moving on, let's talk about health still. We've seen that Minister Samatta reveals government plans to improve health sector. And on the other hand, we've seen that Health Minister asked nurses to resume work as payment of approved allowances has already started, and nurses and midwives embark on industrial action. How do you digest all of this going on right now?
It's a problem. Currently, we are in a pandemic. We are in a health crisis. People are dying more prior to the health crisis that we are now. The nurses might have a problem that they want solution, and the government is also trying to intervene to ensure that the situation, the crisis is managed, crisis management. The issues of allowance that they've raised, there should be a balancing act here. Their welfare and life and death of the patients who are waiting at hospitals.
Okay.
And you have the government there who also has a role to play in ensuring that the situation is managed. I believe in whatever crisis one faces and parties are involved, there must be a compromise. A compromise must be reached. Several factors needs to be, considered. You do not only consider the fact that you need your allowance to be increased. As a nurse, you have the teachers there, you have other people working in the civil service who are also facing similar problems as to the ones that you are facing. For me, I think there must be a compromise among the parties that are involved here. Government, the nurses and other healthcare workers who want improvement, of their allowances, of their welfare, so on and so forth. But they are now at catch-22. We are at a crossroads where they must, do a balancing act by considering the lives of the patients and their own welfare, and what government also can do.
Going through the newspaper, we've seen that the ministry said they are currently depositing the monies into their accounts. Do you think it's good that any time, like if it is okay before they deposit monies into their accounts, that nurses have to threaten sit-down strike before the ministry do this thing?
I didn't get your question.
What I mean is, the ministry want to pay the monies into their account now, after the nurses threaten to go on a sit-down strike. Is it okay, anytime the nurses threaten a sit-down strike, that's the time the ministry will go and pay these monies into their account?
Okay, this was a long, it has been demanded before the recent threat. In May, in June, going down, the problem ensued. There was a time that they threatened, the last time that they threatened before this one, that they will be embarking on a sit-down strike was in June, and parties met at the level of the central government, where the Secretary General, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Health, and the executive members of the Nurses Association sat at the negotiation table, and they were able to reach a compromise, and government promised that there was an agreement, collective agreement, as to how much will be paid for an allowance and a deadline. So from there, the process continued, and it had to reach at cabinet level for approval. So I think that process was on, and until the 26th of August, when it reached when it reached cabinet, and then there was an approval last Tuesday. There was a payment into the accounts of these nurses. It wasn't the fact that nurses have threatened a sit-down strike and government is intervening immediately. There was a process that was ongoing, and they've said, according to the Ministry of Health, before the cabinet approval, it was already beyond on the 5th of that month. According to the regulations, according to law, you know, they're legally bound. Before you can insert anything into the payroll, it has to be before the 5th of that particular month.
Okay.
So it was already beyond the 5th of August, and maybe government wanted to follow due process before this thing is done.
Yes, let's, Jennifer, let's take a look at the headline of this newspaper. Ministry of Health warns striking nurses. What do you think of this? Warns.
Yes, the Ministry of Health has asked nurses to go back to work because their allowances have been paid on Tuesday. That's a different story from the Nurses Association saying, you know, that there are some of them who still haven't been paid. I think the process is ongoing right now, and what the ministry was saying is the fact that hence we have now paid, and this was your demand, you guys would go back to work, and anybody who doesn't go back to work, you know, is considered as an absenteeism.
Okay.
And when that happens, there is usually a penalty, even before this crisis or before you know, the ongoing sit-down strike. Usually there are regulations that govern, you know, those who work in the civil service.
Yeah.
When you do not go to work, you know, you have to explain why, you know, if you're absent. So maybe, you know, the ministry is trying to quote some of these regulations and then to get back people, you know, to work. But what I want to say here is that there must be negotiation, there must be, you know, negotiation among all parties to ensure that the deadlock really is resolved. If not, people are dying at hospitals, and that becomes a problem.
All right, so we are still on health. I guess today health is one of the major topics that we have on the paper, so I'm afraid we might have to stick with it. So we've also seen that accidents are a big problem for African countries globally, and Gambia is no exception. And here we've seen that WHO rep says over 1.3 million people globally die of road accidents. And the Gambia situation is not also looking good. What do you make of this?
Yes, it is really serious. There are, you know, several areas that need to be looked at. There needs to be a proper system that is put in place to ensure that people who are given the license to drive, it begins from the training, how well you are trained, and from capacity building, then how licenses are also issued. There must be a very, you know, stringent, you know, process that is put in place to ensure that before one gets this license, before you are licensed to drive, really you must have fulfilled all the requirements, you know, to be a qualified driver. From there, maybe people also, they have to be tested medically. You have to be tested medically, your eyes, your mind, whether you are, you know, the right person to be on the road, because as a driver, you are carrying lives. Not only your life, the life you save might be even your own. So all these things need to be considered. Also our roads, also the traffic signs, you know, traffic signs, traffic management, the police also, you know, the capacity of the police. There are cross-cutting areas that really needs to be looked at holistically to ensure that we solve this problem. If not, it continues and we will be climbing up there. Now we are at fourth position.
Number 4. We are at fourth
so
position.
Who knows, next year with this high, you know, skyrocketing statistics, we might emerge number 2 or...
What do you make of teenage drivers? I mean, recently we've received a lot of, we've covered stories of accidents, and the reason for that is teenage driving. People who are not 18 and they go and rent vehicle and start driving. Most of them cause accidents. Sometimes they do away with their parents' vehicle. I can remember there was an incident that happened at the Battle Harden Highway. So it was a terrible one. So what should we do to control this?
Yes, it starts from the house. If the car, because as a teenager, when you are not you know, up to the age requirement, you shouldn't drive. That is illegal. And as parents, we must put control mechanism at home to ensure that our children really wouldn't have access to vehicles. And if it is renting car, you know, car rentals, you know, happen in this country. Before one is given to drive, one needs to show, that he or she is qualified and is up to the legal age requirement, and maybe you can provide your ID card, so on and so forth. So here the problem really, there must be responsibility.
Yeah.
We must be responsible from from the family level. So where
the reason I ask that question, it's control mechanism. We do not have that. It's like anybody can drive. You'll go outside and you see a small boy driving a car, and this guy doesn't have a license. At the end of the time, it becomes a problem. So control mechanisms are very important. Car rentals, they don't mind. If you come, you give them 2,500.
Yeah, but the car rentals also should be regulated.
They should be regulated.
So it's not only about the money at the end of the day. So this has to do with the home, that is the upbringing. And this also has to do with the car rental services. At some point, there's a way that you raise your child. They dare not take your car keys and drive your car without your permission.
It is now many.
Yes.
Most of these teenagers will just go rent a car and go to the beach side.
Yes.
For me, I think the issue of regulating them, there is already a law.
Put in place.
Yes, put in place that somebody who is not up to 18 or 19 or above that age shouldn't be given a car to drive.
Yeah.
And if you are engaged in car rental services and then you happen to give somebody who is underage, the law is there, and you should be taken to court. You should be prosecuted. And
but the law is there, but without enforcement, what's the law
yes,
for?
you mentioned regulation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's already a law in
Yes.
place.
When I say regulation, I think the right word probably should have been enforcement, right?
Enforcement.
So what are laws for without them being enforced at the end of the day?
Absolutely. So there needs to be,
or maybe the regulations should be tightened.
If we talk about teenage renting vehicle, we also need to talk about vehicle plying the route to Basse End. Sometimes the loads they carry is too much. At times, it balances the car, which causes a lot of accidents, Choi.
and
there
must be...
And on the checkpoints, you find policemen. I mean, on this vehicle, they apply that route. The policemen wouldn't do anything about that.
Anyway.
There's a weighing station around, Denton Bridge, just before Denton Bridge. I think, the loads needs to be weighed, and then to know whether this is up to standard or this is safe for people, because not only the truck is plying the road, but other people in the traffic, other drivers' vehicles are plying, and at the end of the day, when an accident happens, it can affect anybody. So all these things really need to be...
All right, so moving on, let's take a look at education a little bit. Mamadou Lamin Choi, what does education mean to you? What does it mean? Because looking at this particular graduation ceremony, we've seen that the guest speaker says education more than passing exams and having certificates. So what does education mean to you, and what do you think education can do for you as well?
Yes, to be educated really takes more than to be certificated, because education prepares you to have a particular knowledge that you can use towards contributing to the development of your country. If education cannot serve the interests of your country, if education is not constructive, if the knowledge that you have, you cannot utilize it to develop yourself, to develop your country, I mean really, maybe you have gone through a process, but the knowledge that is required for us to call it somebody who is educated really is not there. So for me, what education means to me is that process that prepares you to take up responsibilities that will contribute towards your personal development and for the development of your country.
Yeah, I've heard some certain individuals say if you're educated and that education that you have cannot solve any societal problem, then you have to question your education.
Absolutely.
So I think we're on the same line.
There's another saying which said, a busy illiterate is better than an idle graduate.
Yes.
Yeah, connects a lot, right?
Yes. So all that boils down to relevance in education.
Sure.
What are we being taught at schools? Do they commensurate with our realities? Do they commensurate with our problems? So the school needs to be that industry that prepares people to come out and then be the solution to the problems of society.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I'm happy about the fact that Gambian youth are doing quite well when it comes to bringing solutions to problems that are happening. You know, they're quite innovative. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, they've been coming up with ideas and all of that. So I think at some point we will get there gradually. I think we just have a few minutes to go, but before we do that, we've seen that farmers in UR are in limbo as they struggle to have access to fertilizer. That's what we've seen. And the minister, on the other hand, is saying that farmers have abundant fertilizer. So quite...
Yes. There was another report on, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, I read the newspaper, farmers saying that they have enough fertilizer.
Yeah,
So here, this person is not talking about, you know, quantity. He's talking about access.
Yeah.
You know, how much access do they have to these fertilizers? I think, you know, really, one way or the other, you have some orders, you know, from the other side saying we have enough. When you have enough, meaning you also have access to it. But here somebody is, you know, is saying that they do not have access to it. So maybe, you know, something needs to be done in order to address this problem.
Okay, the issue of fertilizer. Don't you think farmers should find a way of getting the natural fertilizer? You know,
organic?
Yes, the organic fertilizer. This is becoming a problem. Every year, farmers keep complaining, pushing and pulling, you know, fertilizer. What about the organic fertilizer?
I think private sector needs to intervene to invest in that area because the farmers would want that, but do they have the necessary skills? Do they have the capacity? There needs to be an investment in that area. We can have factories, you know, in the country that will use, you know, those organic, you know, materials and then process them into finished products that will be used by farmers for fertilizers. For me, there are, you know, some farmers who do that. There are some farmers who are doing that, but is that enough? Because at the end of the day, how this organic fertilizer, whether the quantity that we have in this country can, you know, can sustain farmers. Does it meet the needs and the demands of farmers in this country? That is the question. So they do not, if they have the capacity, if the quantity is there, the capacity is there, the relevant resources are put in place, we can venture into that. But for me, I believe the farmers currently, the situation, they do not have the capacity, they do not have the means, they do not have the resources. So maybe private sector can intervene and then provide the necessary avenue for the processing.
But Mamadou Lamin, I can confirm to you that as we speak, farmers in certain regions are being trained in relation to using organic fertilizers, because recently I traveled to Kudang and I have some women gardeners who are already at this point as we speak using organic fertilizers in their farms, and it is okay, it is going well. Absolutely. And recently we've also seen a story covered by QTV where they're trying to use waste management and transform it into compost and allow farmers to use it in their farms. So I think it's a gradual process. At some point then we will try to monitor the situation.
I've said that there are some farmers who are really going, you know, and it is more effective. In fact, it's very good. Organic fertilizer really proves very, you know, effective.
All right. So thank you so much, Mamadou Lamin Choi, for giving us that brilliant analysis when it comes to the stories that we have on the papers. But I'm afraid we might have to keep you. We'll be taking a look at the Community Watch, and our Community Watch today is government procures 80 ambulances, boosting ambulance services for all constituencies. Let's take a look at this video, and when we come back, we'll have a discussion in relation to that.
Building a proper healthcare system for taxpayers means facilitating easy access and affordable health service delivery across the country. As part of efforts to attain that goal, the government has procured 80 new ambulances aiming at improving emergency response for healthcare needs of Gambians, especially in rural areas, through a community ambulance service initiative. The Minister of Health explains the motivation behind the development, citing horrible scenes of suffering facing rural communities during emergency.
The last time we were in Kerardo, the community birth companion was taking a pregnant woman to a health facility at night. They were on a donkey cart from the Kerardo to where the woman could deliver. Unfortunately, along the way, wolves started to attack them. And they couldn't go, they had to go back to the village, and then the woman delivered at home. The other one was at Nauleru. We were there, A similar thing, this time the pregnant woman was on a horse cart. Out of fear, the horse started to run at top speed with the pregnant woman on a horse cart. You can only imagine that. This is sad. So the president said that something needs to be done about this. And now we are going to have community ambulances stationed in those communities.
As part of plan for smooth operations of ambulances for communities, the Health Ministry has announced that it is putting up 11 ambulance centers at strategic highways across the country to be manned by paramedics for rapid response to accidents, of which there are many. For capacity building, 16 health workers have been sent to Turkey to train as trainers for pre-hospital emergency care of patients.
And now we are going to have community ambulances stationed in those communities so that when we have a pregnant woman who needs to deliver, they call that number, the ambulance goes to the house, picks her up to her health facility. I think that will be a game changer in the health system for the people of this country. So that is the essence.
The plan is set to operate from the early in September. The minister has more on the timely arrival of the ambulances.
In fact, we are expecting the first batch of 20 in the next 10 days, inshallah. And another batch by the end of the month, September. And the first week of October, we are receiving. So by first week of October, inshallah, we'll be getting 55 in country. That's the schedule of delivery, yeah.
The procurement of the 80 ambulances comes a year after the ministry received 10 ambulances purchased from government's local fund and support from the World Bank. The public will be anxiously waiting for the new ambulances that will bring them closer to a solution to a critical healthcare need, a rapid response to emergencies at community level. Mohamed Lamin Choi, QTV News.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. That was a story on government procures 80 ambulances, boosting ambulance services for all constituencies. So you covered that story, so you can take us through the process and all of that.
Yes, it's an initiative called the Community Ambulance Service Initiative by the government of the Gambia, and 80 ambulances have been procured. 16 health workers have been sent to Turkey for training, who will come back and then train some other health workers so that they will able to man, also they will able to operate as emergency response team. So basically the effort is to bring a solution towards the problem facing people when it comes to emergency response in the country. The minister, you've heard from him citing horrible scenes of women, who are being transported to, to hospital health facilities for labor. A lot of things happening which are really very serious. It's a very serious situation that the government of the Gambia has realized and is trying to bring, a solution. So 11 stations have been identified at highways where strategic locations where these people will be operating, and all the constituencies in this country will be provided with ambulances. So emergency response is really important in healthcare service delivery, and the government of the Gambia is taking that step, is taking the step towards improving in that area. So basically,
yes, I wanted to ask you, maintaining them, because these are ambulances that are well equipped, so we need personnel to maintain them. But you've answered that question. They have sent people to go and learn and train the ones in the Gambia. And I think that would be very effective, Mr. Choi.
So something I would want to make clear to the public is the ambulances haven't arrived. In the coming few days, maybe in a week's time, the ambulances will arrive in the country gradually in bits and pieces. Before October, according to the minister, we'll have around 54 of them. And in September this month, it is expected, the plan is that they will start operation. So the pictures I've used there are just...
So you talked about the fact that 11 of the ambulances will be stationed at strategic locations, right?
11 areas have been identified as strategic locations at highways.
Okay.
So that they'll be responding to
accidents.
accidents.
And what areas are these?
Some of these areas, involve at Sting Corner.
Okay.
There are some, at the rural area, but these are areas that are located at highways.
Okay.
So for those 11 areas that are identified, is to ensure that there is quick response to emergencies, particularly accidents.
Okay, so if they're trying to respond to accidents in a swift way, do you know if there's a toll-free number that people can dial? For instance, I'm leaving around Sting Corner and I need an ambulance. Does that exist? Do you know about that?
Yes, the minister also mentioned the fact that there will be numbers that will be provided, so that communities, when there is emergency, they will call, their immediate ambulance service to come to their rescue or support.
All right, I think this is a great initiative,
yes,
but you talked about sustainability.
Exactly.
We're happy about the fact that at least we have individuals specifically trained to actually man this and eventually train other people.
Access is also very important.
Access is important, and that's why the number is 80 to provide ambulances for all the constituencies in the country. So each constituency is expected to be provided an ambulance, which will be providing service when it comes to emergency situation, emergency response. So basically, that is a step forward. The Ministry of Health, is promising to do more in ensuring that when it comes to access, when it comes to, availability of resources for the people of this country at healthcare level is really strengthened.
Okay, I think it's important that we have Momodu Lamin Choi on the newspaper review and on the Community Watch, considering that he covered the story. Since he knows a lot about it. Thank you so much, and shout outs to the government. It's a thumbs up to them for actually.
Last year there were 10 ambulances that were procured. Currently they are in the country in operation. So 80 plus the 10 will be 90, and we expect more. And health care service is really very important. Quality healthcare service delivery is what the country needs, and any effort towards that really must be complemented.
Well, I think, Janaba, this is a process. Sometimes it's not as fast as people expect, but gradually we'll be there. At some point we were not with this type of ambulance.
I think for me this is for the first time I've seen the procurement of ambulances to such level, to such degree. For the first time I've seen it. Maybe it happened before, but this is a very historic development.
So gradually we'll be there.
Yeah, we were looking forward to the arrival of these 80 ambulances and hoping that they will be sustained, because sustainability is very important.
It's the most important,
exactly. Yes, so moving on, thank you so much, Momodu Lamin Choi, for staying with us on the newspaper review, as well as the Community Watch. And on social issues, we'll be talking about the President's Meet the People tour, and we'll be joined by Ami Bojang Sisaho, Director of Press and Public Relations, Office of the President. So we'll just take a look at this video, and when we come back, we'll have an in-depth discussion in relation to the Meet the People tour.
ni wato sid kuma bentel bulu kayti ben bulu ni nga wol bondi do be bor lañu banko ko wala be banko farle be duna banko yalon diamo man kumaya ila baro wala kumaya oto mo jamabe diamo lumbe sila wol be delal ndel nata do boole la ndel man na ciakan la wala ken den ko musa nganto fale baro man na si ngaw bojeli sare baro nata do boole yani woman kumaya jumale be kayro na dilal jumale kayro nganyal jumale be dogo ke kan gandiya ngami rabbi wala modi nyaka nyande ko mo la fula bi gambia sula ta wol gambia man sula kuma ken sama alinga kafunyola nga bangya doku o doron nom tanni fulor kelo bantale Gambia kele killing nga Gambia doku ay tañaar o kele killing wala tuta jam andu be Gambia ko be ko mandila man na gundal sorom na boso ñi manfa momo pareta dum boso ko sarta killing wala be je Gambia dron ni me Gambia je ebe boso ko ni ma Gambia je ji boso e man
Welcome back, viewers, from that break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV this morning. And we are heading right on to our social issues segment. And like I mentioned, we'll be talking about the Meet the People store. And we're joined by Ami Bojang Cesar, Director of Press and Public Relations Office of the President. Thank you for joining us, Auntie Ami.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so moving on, before we get into the Meet the People store, I just want you to clarify something, because recently we've seen a lot of excitement in Upper River region as the president was supposed to launch roads and bridges. Will this hold as we speak?
It will hold, but at a later date. Okay. Because the reason for the postponement as to the initial date that was identified is because the partners, the Chinese, they want to be part of the inauguration and the celebration and everything, so they don't want to miss it. And their schedule has conflict with the initial dates for some reason, so they looked into it and they have discussed with government, and the president agrees that they will postpone it so that they all work together, because they've strived from a very long process. So when it is time to enjoy it and to celebrate the achievement, they want to be part of it.
It's fair enough.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they have to be part of the thing.
Yeah.
Now let's take a look at the Meet the People, though, and you people are already set to go and meet the people, and usually it is organized and everything is in place. So tell us a little about this.
Yes, I'm sure you and your viewers already know that it's a constitutional requirement. So that means that the president has to do it. So for that reason, he will determine when to do it. And he has agreed with his technicians that it will start from the 13th of September to the 30th. So during that process, it will be like presenting his policies and programs to the masses of Gambians who are out there in both rural and urban areas. So it's a countrywide tour. Apart from that, the governors, they are also responsible in the decentralization of the logistics and the engagements at that level. So each of them in their regions, they will mobilize their people in the different, because he's going to have a meeting in one district in each region. So the governors will do the logistical arrangements to ensure that the people from the other regions join their colleagues in the particular region that is district that is identified. So that the governors are already doing that, because there was a pre-planning meeting, and they discussed the logistics in terms of the food and all those things, location. But apart from that, there is another important aspect of it, that is the development projects that are in the regions. The sectors and ministries responsible will identify those ones to say these are the areas we have to. But then it will also be a way of assessing what has happened, the promises made during the last tour, and the promises that have been kept. And the ones that are not possible, or the challenges there, all this could be part of the discussions through the ministries and the sectors that are responsible. So it is a very important point to know that the issues of policies and programs must impact on the lives of the citizens. And to impact on the lives of citizens, they must be implemented in a way that is suitable for the people. So, and the other important aspect of the tour is the citizens have the opportunity to now appreciate what has they have seen, but also to raise concerns on other areas that they think should be given attention to impact on their life positively.
Okay, is there a specific timetable yet as to some of the areas that the president will be visiting? Because I think I saw one. So is that authentic? Is that something that the Gambians should go by?
Not exactly, because what happened, there was a drafting process.
Okay.
And somebody decided to take that out to the social media. But it's not a complete, it's not the validated one. Because you have the sectors coming in with their own areas that needs to be part of that program. So if you send that as an authentic one, then you are making a mistake, because the president may be going to other places that are not indicated in that one. So once we have the complete one, it will be shared. It's for public concerns on. So once it is completed and validated by the right authorities, then it goes out for people to know where the president will be, when, you know, and they can do their own arrangements and logistics for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at youth and women. I know the youths are ready for this tour. What does youth and women mean to the government of Adama Barrow?
Oh, I think it's so obvious to me, maybe not to everybody, but it is so obvious in the sense that this is the first time. I've been in activism for more than half of my life. We've been fighting for a separate ministry to give the women the right attention. It has never happened. Or everything people have strived, we've advocated, we've done all these things. It never happened. We were lucky that it was during the President Adama Barrow regime that we were able to have a ministry that is standing alone, giving focus and attention to women's issues. That's very important. Secondly, it is for the first time as a government, they have taken this decision to ensure that they have a policy that will empower women economically through the Women and Enterprise Program Fund. Because that is a way to say that now it's not just you coming here and there, maybe giving, you know, there is a system in place that will ensure that every year there is an allocation that will be going to empower women through this process. So I think those are great, great initiatives in terms of policy decisions to empower women. In terms of the youth, you have seen in the area of sports what has been happening recently. But also, in terms of skills development, you realize that now there are what we call the TVEC centers. That is the technical vocational, what's it called, enterprise training. This is very important because we're talking about when the Gambia needs like fish during Korite or Tobaski, all the youths are, the fishermen are away because who is supposed to do it? They are non-Gambians who have to go with to be with their families. So if we have, apart from the GTTIs and the other institutions, we have specific centers that are being developed so that youths will have particular skills we need in the market. Because we need to link the policies to the market needs. And the policies will look into what the market needs so that they can develop programs around that to empower the young people to be able to have those skills so that they take up the labor market in terms of what we need to do.
So, Auntie Ami, what will you tell to individuals who are saying that the postponement of the bridges and roads inauguration in URR, as well as this Meet the People store, is politically motivated? What would you tell to those people?
I think they may be right in the sense that policies and politics go together. The president has been into office through a political system. And that political system assigned him and his government to come up with policies that will benefit those people who are Gambians who voted him into office. So they go together. What people need to differentiate is when it comes to funding, the government's funds will not be used to buy political groups T-shirts and whatever they want to do to show their solidarity. But the party that they belong to can do that prepare them to be able to join the president on the store. Okay. So for me, I don't see a conflict. I see a complementarity of roles and responsibilities, because the president and the policy makers, they'll be focusing on the programs and the policies. But at the same time, who are they doing it for? It's the voters. The voters are politicians, and the politicians are Gambians.
Under the government of His Excellency President Adam Barrow, we've seen the construction of more routes that have been promised for many years that this will be constructed. And finally, he came and started that project. Why do you concentrate more on roads, on bridges? We've seen the Basse Bridge, we've seen the Basse Market, we've seen the Fatoto Highway. So why do you concentrate more on roads?
Roads are very important in the socio-economic lives of people, in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of investment, in terms of access to market, in terms of agricultural products being transported to the markets. So you cannot talk about any development that will leave roads out. If you do, you are delaying the process and making it more difficult. If a woman is in labor in Sutukoba and needs to go to Bajakunda on a donkey cart, you think if there is a good road and they have to take 15 minutes to get to Bajakunda, then they will have less time to get to Bajakunda and save that woman one way or the other, because the delay in the time could increase the risk to the reproductive health.
I can remember there was a time it took us almost 2 hours to drive from Basse to Bajakunda. It was very difficult.
I have driven with my colleagues in activism, the present vice president, from Birkama to Jakunda for 13 hours.
Wow.
13 hours, including the crossing. In our activism, we know what it means to bring people, provide them with access to good roads. Especially the bridge. We slept several times at the bus end.
So Janaba, it's important.
Socio-economic lives of the people. Yes. Roads and bridges are excellent.
It's important. If our governments are doing good, it's important for us to talk about it. Who feels it knows it. There was a time I traveled from Lamen Koto using the Pasamas Highway with Pura. It was very difficult. There was a guy at Pura called Sima. Sima, he was like, I hope we are not lost.
Okay, at some point,
so it was very difficult to access
the
area.
Okay, so moving on, Antifatu, I think it is important that we have this discussion in the local languages as well, just so our local viewers are able to understand what they should look out for the tour. So, nga dimbale ñu rek, because ñu bari ñu doon sentu si URR inauguration bi pour bridge bi ak tali waaye pour ñu mun na reeral ndax lii dina mun a am ndax du am léegi.
Bu yo soobee suñ borom bi dina am. Parce que nit sa genn wala moom benn genn wala bi moomuloo ko. Chinese yi ñoo dimbali réewi Gambia bañ mun a sampa bridge yooyu. ñu dem ba dara desut lu mooy ubbi ko. mu tombé ñu am ganta ñu ne ñu may leen ndax ñu mun a jàpp beneen bés boo xam ne ñoom it dinañ ci bopp parce que ñoom it kontaan nañ pour gis ne liggéey bu rafetee nii def nañ ko si biir réewi Gambia. loolu moo waral ñu toxal bés bi waaye bu soobee suñ borom bi su bés bi jógee neetetee dinañ ko wax nit ñi pareel ko.
waaw waaye Antifatu am nañu toog tam ne soo gisee xëj na ñu soril bés bi gën koo jegeel décembre dafa am politique boo xam ne moo si xaw a rax yow lan nga am pour wax ñooñu.
kañ politique war na cee rax parce que président bi politique lañ ko tànnee pour def ko muy président santa ko nag ne ko dañ bëgg a suñ la defee président si yooni politique dañ bëgg a nag nga defar ay sarta yoo xam ne dangaa isi liggéey yokkute si biir réew mi kon nag su fekkee def nañ sant nañ ko mu liggéey loolu sotti su tombee politique kon mu ngi mel ni moom am na lum ndamoo.
dëgg la léegi nañ seet maanaam jigéen yi ak xale yi tey boo ne politique rek jigéen yi ak xale yi ñooy génn di daw yéen si seen liggéey foo leen teg ndaw yi ak jigéen yi.
loolu dama cee kontaan trop pour tontu ko parce que man bokk naa si jigéen ñi nga xam ne ci réew mi fii xeex nañ bi di jigéen ba sonna fexe nañ pour ñu am ministre yi parce que li daan xew mooy ministre yi tombé yi fi toppatoo yi fi jigéen dañ ko daan laaxa di ko dénkaane ñu ne déedéet mbiri jigéen passé na lu ñuy dénkaane si nguuri Adama Barrow lañ amee ministre mu taxawal boppam ne bii pour jigéen ñi la kon su fekkee ne am nañ ministre boo xam ne dafa taxawal jigéen ñi su xëyee jigéen ñi laay xalaat xam nga soo boolee jigéen ñi ak health jigéen ñi ak leneen ministre bi ne waaw ban laa cee tànn waaye bii moom su xëyee loolooy liggéeyam ministre bi loolooy seen liggéey moom la ñoo xëyee moom la ñoo ngontee loolu lu rëy la pour ñu am ko pour seet naka la réew mi seen jigéen ñi di doxee ak nguur ñaareel ba musta am mu ngi soog a am si nguuru Adama Barrow nga xam ne nguur gi si boppam mooy teg xaalis ne xaalis bi at bu nekk jamono ji dinañ ko génnee di ko jox jigéen ñi nga xam ne dinañ mun a def seen business si boppam loolu ñu ngi ko soog a am liñ daan am mooy ne dimbalikat ñëw dimbale leen ñetti weer dimbale leen benn at léegi ndimbal ñëw na ñëwut nguur gi dina génne xaalis pour gis ne jigéen ñi jox nañ leen ko pour ñu dimbale seen bopp
maanaam su ma déggee jigéen ñi léegi si nguuri Adama Barrow dañ am xaalis boo xam ne dañ ko jagleel jigéen ñi ndimbal ñëw na si biti ñëwut xaalis bang fa
su ndimbal ñëwee mu yokku su ñëwut boobu ni mu ngi fa
waaw
mooy Women Enterprise Fund bi loolu ndam la bu rëy boo xam ne président Barrow mun na koo ndamoo fu nekk si àddina bi ne si suma jamono si suma nguur lii la xew
man daal musuma koo dégga de
déedéet xew musta
first time ma dégga ko
musta xew si réew mi fii nii musta xew parce que ñun suñ life yi fii lañ ko def demuñ fen te li ñu doon xeex pour jigéen yëpp fii lañ ko xeexee kon musta xew su ma leen ne musta xew ñi si wàlli ndaw yi dafa important ndaw yi réew du mun a dem te métier amut métier yooyu foog ñu am fu ñu leen koo jàngalee léegi gis nañ ne jàngu yi mun ngaa nekk ne soo jàngee yaa ngi jàng arabe anglais français lu nekk soo ko bugg a boole si sa jàng métier xëj na xale yi duñ ko antan waaye léegi di nga dem ba nga xam ne yow toll nga foo xam ne xàmmee nga ak ràññee nga dem si jàngukaay bi yooyu ñooy oyee TVET centres yi di nga fa jànga métier boobu nga mun koo jël parce que foog ñu boolee sarta yi nguur giy defar ak réew mi liñ soxla pour liggéey yi dox soo buggee sampatee néeg di nga soxla maçon soxla plombe soxla leneen léegi suñ amee jàngukaay yoo xam ne ñu ngi jàngaleen nit ñi bugg a jàng métier yooyu foofu mu ngi mel ni ndaw ñu nguuri Adama Barrow mu ngi leen a dooleel pour gis ne ñu mun a dimbali seen boppa ndax réew mi yokku parce que ndimbali réew ak yokkute réew du mun a dem si gannaaw nit ñi kon nag su ndaw yi mu nee am loolu ñu santee ko yàlla ba bari
so Auntie Fatou ñu bëgg tam nga wax si too bi rek too bi yan plans ngeen put in place to make sure ne mu mun a smooth incha allah
su neexee yàlla fi mu nekk nii gouverneur yi mit nañ ak minister of local government mooy chairperson bi so discuss ne ñoo office of the president ak ñi nga xam ne ñoo bokk ci task force wu leen pour gis ne gouverneur yi liñ war a def ñoom tamit si seen gox yi ñu def ko di nga gis ne programme bi mu ngi commencé fukki fan ak ñetta ci weeri septembre bi ba si fanweeri fan ya si diggante boobu leen nag gouverneur yi ñoom dinañ dellu si seen gox yi waxtaan ak seen chef yi ak alkaali yi dëkk yiñ tànn pour ne fa la ñoo mitee di nga gis ne yeneen dëkk yi ñoom ñoo fekkale si leen si seen tunda yooyu leen loolu mu ngi xew ñoom tamit ñooy responsible pour nit ñi seen lekka yeeg yu ñu demee ñu toppatoo ko pour su nit ñi ñëwee mun a am lekka jé nit ñi seen dema ñëw bi ñoo def tamit si seen gox yi foofu ñoom ñoo responsible pour loolu
ok nañ waxtaanee tuuti too bi kañ la moo door ak kañ la moo jee
waaw maa ngi ko doon wax ma ne si fukki fan ak ñetta weeri septembre bi dina door den su ko defee dina jeex si fanweeri fan yi waaye di nga gis ne si diggante boobu leen fukki guddi moom la président bi def si kaw gi su ko defee li ci des daf koo ñëw di bugg di dem pom dooree ko Fuuñi wàcca si West Coast bi Greater Banjul area bi boobu dema ñëw laa nekk bor bu set
waaw dañ bëggoon tam ñu setal lii maanaam too bi lu waa moo ko may président bi nekkut président ba jóg rek bugg a dem def lu moo def waaye luwaa moo ko may
pour yokka si loolu tamit lan mooy njëriñi Meet the People's Store gis nañ ne defoon na ko njëlbeen war koo defaat lan la tax mu xëj na war koo defaat
loolu at bu nekk constitution bi moo wax ne koo xam ne yaa jiite réew mi di nga jóg dem wër réew mi suy benn yoon sax si at bi mun na koo ëppa ñaari yoon waaye lu mu bon benn yoon war ngaa jóg nga wër réew mi yépp waxtaana nit ñi nga xam ne duñ dee gaaw a gis président xëy na jamono jooju lañ koo gis suñu amee suñ soxla yi time boobu la ñoo dajaloo tànna nit mu ne leen yow nga waxal ñu si suñ soxla yi lii la ñu yebaane ko am na njëriñ torop pour mu di ko def at bu nekk parce que soo seetloo daaw bi mu demee am na yoo xam ne nit ñi joytu nañ ko ren su delloo dina mën a wax nit ñi ne ndax loolu xewoon na def nañ ci saafara nañ ci dara ndax saafara wuñ ci dara li tax saafara nañ ko ak li tax mënuñ koo saafara ñu mun koo nettali su ko defee nit ñi tamit dinañ ne daaw de laajoon nañ ndox am nañ dox ren lii moo ñu soxal ñoom it ñu wax ko
waaw loolu lu am solo la at least ñi nga xam ne ñoo la fa teg suñ la joxee liggéey nga def yi mënuloo def lii nga deelu nga ne nga lii ak lii la waaye lii moom xew na loolu lu am solo la
waaw anti Ami ñu ngi laa jaajëfal si sa ñëw bi fii nii te ñu ngi leen di wish well tamit ngeen dem si jaama ñëw ak jaama si Meet the People store bi looking forward to listening to some of the things that people have to say
waa Basse call nañ ma ñu ne ma ne Baro su àggee Basse dinañ xam ne waa Basse ñoo mun a teeru
waaw su ngeen ma mayee rek dafa am leen lu ma bëgg a wax si mbiri too bi dañ ko dee faral di am jafe-jafe léegi du dee rëy nag waaye daf dee xew waaye pour ñu mun ko oytu mooy diggante journaliste yi ak ñi nga xam ne ñooy sécurité léegi ñàkk a déggoo daf ci dee am waaye ma ñaan journaliste rek ñu xam ne sécurité soo gisee ñu aaye leen rek nga xam ne léegi ñu ngay jàll fi nga xam ne foofu lañ war ta nekka waaye suñ déggooyee rek su fekkee problème am na o nga gis ne lii daal am na ñàkk a déggoo cee am man moo tax maa ngi fa su ma xale yaa ngi fa su ko defee mun ngeen a dem ne leen man de maa ngi bëgg a def lii waaye di nangam ñun dinañ seen ndax yow fi nga bëgg a dem sécurité dina ko alaaw ndax du ko alaaw loolu maa ngi koo ñaan journaliste yi yëpp ak képp koo xam ne yaa ngi ñëw si too bi ñu fexe ñu déggoo ak ñi nga xam ne ñooy sécurité bi su ko defee ku nekk mun a def liggéeyam te fekka duñ nekka loo xam ne xëccoo laa nekka
waaw fooguloo loolu maanaam jaama buñ am la ndaxte amoon na time kenn ñemewut a def loolu nañ waxtaan si jaama gi xam nga dafa important pour ñuy wax lii léegi Gambien bu nekk soo toogee yaa ngi at ease sa xol baa ngi free nañ waxtaan si jaama bi tuuti
jaama dafa am solo jaama même si sa kër su fa nekkutee doo mun a dal di nga bugg a def dara sax doo ko mun a def waaye jaama si biir réew nag amut morom parce que si biir jaama boobu leen si la nit ñi di ñemeñ sax pour génnee sañ xaalis ne man de dama bugg a léegi ma ubbi QTV ma di fi operate su jaama amul doo ko ñeme parce que yaa ngi xalaat lan na cee xew su jaama amee investor bi dina ñeme ne man de fii nii jaamaa ngi fi dalang fi nekkut ne su ma ñëwee ba def suma project ma start suma business nit du ko nangu su suma loxo dinañ xam ne si biir jaama boobu luwaay dinañ ko toppa si biir jaama boobu nit ñi dinañ mun di demalante di ñëwalante si biir jaama boobu jaamu yàlla sax di nga ko mun a def parce que soo demee pour julli sa xel dina dal si biir jaamu li nga xam ne mooy jaama jooju leen mooy wone ne doom aadama bu nekk surtout ñun ñi nga xam ne ñooy wax ñu dinañ mun a wax lu ñu neex du wax lu ñu xalaat te fekk duñ xas nit duñ ko saaga te suñ xalaat bi ñu am dinañ ko mun a wone te suñ ñibbee dinañ tëdd nelaw jaamaa ko waral
waaw am na solo jeena ba xam naa ne nag suñ mbokki soose yaa ngi déglu de
finally rek ñu tëjee loolu
moo laftale domanin ro isa fo mbaariŋolu mel ben jiibe ka mandika kankoŋo la président Adama Barrow binata ka Meet the People store andu ñi luwale ya diyala pour asita mool je ani ye kaca domandin fo moole ñinto
ñin kummayata wake yaafo ñaamen banko akatama nin sarto la ani luwal wo luwal be luwa bañe men keta constitution oti wole dal silo di president ka yamari ka faye ko sango sang inyante yefuta gambian ko la ila satel to anila tundol to ibe dame woto ni constitution ya wo sarto di tamandi atenyanta min kala wolom kalungo jibe mimbe benna la programme ol fe aya fa ko nyin wato de nsitanole wolewe keri ibaji la sango sang aka wokele nyinan dun nyin karo mem dunta kono tuwab karo te september nyin adi tilitang anin sabo len abe wulla ning ala sonta ka bate bara ka continue ka banko tama fo atilitan sabo bare abe suta tan wole kala santoto ni wo suta tango tambeta abe karla tani nale la lungolo surtout west coast ma fangola anin greater banyon ela karket kata kombo nim banyon nim fano keta ayeta nim pareta ay muro wokumata bake bawo niaje constitution ko president o yewuli ayeta ani moliye kacha dalilo mimbije wolom president o ay bank ala mansakunda ay sarto lelande wo sartol fo mol salon sartol ñu no mineti ani ba tamande la ñame nin se misalo dino wolom ñinti ko nim man sakunda ko ntede laftale na mararo koto gambia dingol be karam ibaje la ko ebe wo mu sartole ti yafo bari silang ibe karan na nyaadi le fo ye karamungo soto ya karandir lal soto ye dulal so karandiro sorata minula woliye soto woto wo policies nin programs fo moliye wo faham ko wollo masakunda la tamandir silo tanyati pour wo kumo ye futa molla ni tata ning atata je fana ya fa mol fana e hakole soto ka foko president a serunde birina ta jange dani non ko ila man sakunda se jiberike e ma ko safo ambulance la na lopitano jambari man ambulance soto a safo e ko ha nyinande ambulance nga soto le afele isaje nyinan ni o ambulance ko woje ko ye wosoto isina bunda ko ten jibe mi yalon ko la sula kolom ise wo fana nyinen ka ñunu be mu kuleti mid the people store ala do ko nyi nyanta tamala wala nyama min fana mu governor ti e tolle marata pour kaje ko la tundo nyen kan e bitinol be kala dulamento e tollo be mol tanati la kabo safe bank ko tengol to yana benji ni wo botala fana mini binala wodulalto ila domoro kuwol nin kenyal wo bebe governor le la do ko bunda koto itolle be marala wala pour ka wo sone andi nte lafta min dan la dron ko min tol min be kibare bunda to ni security tema lafta nga daniro ko woto bawo min yalan kol be tanko bunda to be la do ko la min fana be kibaro bunda to fana be la do ko la bari na do kol be nyokonole so woto me mun kala no pour nga kayro to nga nyofa hama kono wolom siki min yalon ko be kibaro bunda to ikana danna tambo ke katambi nanela min yalon ko inyanta dambe danna woleto ni ko be tambila jero in security be bulala nyola so woto nin tare lafta fenkela to dol bi je wo dalilo le kam na dinngol bi je iste tay ka ya fo ko ha nte de lafta nyine kala nin tol ngaje ko man tambe nanela ba fo le ko bismillah asake nole sa itani security la ko nyinde isa ke nole nin tada dum abe tamila nanela sa security ba itani hani jang atekela no tenin so woto bu ko nyomo yo nyen akumate je ba
nga jibe do manding nga jele barola man sakunda do ko jamal leketa brijol be lokan silol be doku kan muna na altol yal nya tiling nyin silol la anin brijol
president Adama Barrow follow ayalon ne ko silo wole ka tinna fanko etama wole ka hada mayani mbadi ya choki andu yirwa jama ka keno nintara silol be kering
okay
ni sila beto soto wole ba tinna la nim muso min tingo bala abe sutuko ba alaftata la baja kunda wole be sone ala dida ni sila kendo tije e koy balandi la sareto kan
ko man to ka bata
bale ke tantol nga wosede yale fulen jango fana ibaje la ko nintara ko silo sotota sanye saji misali fe college be basse mo se borne ole wulli yeta ye college ye la karango ke tilo mume ni jita yeseya munatidna ibaje la fang sanye mini yalon koy sa ko do sotono se taxil ke no ma fangol la moto sotota ite bira la ko lungolun na moto bita fitalia munatinna silole be betare sila beto akatinna la ku jamaa soto yirwa anin jata kende aninna haninna senelal la fengol ni te do ku oke misali fe wulije yeti yo do ko anyama ilafta woti yo tendila kata wafu nin sila beto bije abe taryala isitano yese na wolunkili ngofangola woto silo ninyi salol ikumaya batale na hadamaya soto anin na yirwa bunda
nga jibe do mandem fanan nga ron nin toñi nataton musol nin dinningolu e ka findile ya pare kata president o bendu altolla man sakunda wala mu barola man sakundati dindingol ne musol bale nyaadile
wokumaya batale andu mese wala bake pour ko kumo jabe bawo ne ya jibe ntol meta musol la kuwol kelelale bari nenema ministry soto afaye mi yalon ka lotale man sakunda ya fo sain tonya nga musol la kuwol kumayandi le mi yatinna sain internal mini musol la kuwo dendendi la karala ka fo ngani ministry kari dendendi sain fansu ministry le bembulu nim fano keta ministry bla do ko manke fengo fenti pour ka jiye musol la hajol me minti yelo noma wo mu kukuma baleti anene man soto so wota buko barola man sakunda e kumaya le di musol la kuwala fulanya mo fana wala nyinti ko anene man soto ntenga yirwa do ko min nga lonjang biring nunto kana bila anene man soto man sakunda e kodo londi ka foko sango sang nyin kodo mbalandi la nyine kamma ko musol satano ye munafanna ye la business solke ye famma ko ye la dimbayal ma ko ye nyato ta soto anila fanko fana selafa anene man soto nyinan aso sanyin asotota baro la president ya ku nyin koto anala maralo koto fo nga women enterprise fund nyin soto funding kel la karola fana e amandang ka foko funding kel ha ala atollom funding kel damati hani ni ajibe barola basakunda koto sanyi ye dulal le soto mini yalon ko fondinkel se mechol karandino karannoje wo mechol bawo ni ajibe banko te yiru wala no ni mechol tiyol man do ko soto wala mammo soto min se wo mechol tamandino woto nintara ko barola man sakunda na te mira ko ntolde mbe meche karandu lalle dadala andu yo wol dada pour nyin kaman na fondinkel sita plomba ya karanje lomba bawo ni be bungo lola ibe sola la nyunu belal so nintara na fondinkel se wo mechol karanno ye na ye famu na famu mechola ye fen soto je ye la sama dadaje ngawi ro wo kuleti mi yalon ko musa fo barola man sakunda ko ala baraka bak baraman dan wala fondinkel la karola ni ajibe fondinkel sañ ifana ye ma ko bunda sotole mi yalon ko se business ko do dila ye business oke ye wo ko do jo imo yadi mo nyola wo fana ye business oke isaje abitala le mo be se nafa sotole wo be mu kuleti mi yalon ko baroma sakunda fondinkel ni musola karo abambanta jeba
woka yirwanade
anti Fatou abaraka bake
ala barka
anti Ami abaraka bake
mandingo memo mandingo
anti Ami yeah, so that is Anti Ami Bojang. She's our Director of Press and Public Relations of the Office of the President. Thank you so much, and we're wishing you good luck. We'll monitor the situation to see what the public has to say, and obviously,
and we'll invite her after the tour too.
Yeah,
inshallah,
it is important
yes?
just to know some of the impacts that you've registered. Thank you so much, Auntie Ami, for joining us. We will now go straight on to the click segment. Buba Fati has done an interview for us, so let's take a look at that, and when we come back, we will get to wrap it up. Do stay tuned.
Hey young world, it's your boy Kingman Sweezy, and we are at Q City, and this is the morning show that comes your way every day from Monday to Thursday. With me today, I have Starboy, the special. It's about to go down. He is in the building, bro. Tell us a bit about you.
Yeah, well, at the special, like, I'm doing music, like Afro-dancehall, understand? And I'm from T-Town, working on the stylish record. Yeah, man.
So how is it like doing music in the Gambia and representing your hood?
Yeah, like, normally, like, it's not easy. Understand? Like, it's not easy, but still you cope, you know what I mean, and move on. Because, like for the hood, it's going big. Like, my people are supporting, like, every day. Understand? Like, the music is growing big, you know. So, give thanks, you know.
As an upcoming artist, what are the difficulties you guys face in the music industry? Because you're not on the limelight, people don't know you yet. You're still struggling to be on the limelight. What are the difficulties you face?
Yeah, I can say like financial, because music, you can't do music without money, understand? So, I can say financially now, yeah, man.
Secondly, you drop a video, the Starboy video. That's lit, bro. But first of all, before we get that, let's just check the video. And when we're back, we'll continue the interview.
Special, you know, send me special. Send me special. Stylish, bro. Stylish, bro. All of them have problems. And them know. And nobody can solve this. Whoa. Them feeling me, boy. Killing the show, man. Killing the show. Every song is a blow. Man, leave them, boy. Man, a star. Hey. Man, a star. Call me the star, boy. Call me the star, boy. I say me born from born.
That was the Starboy video. It's an amazing one, bro. So tell us a bit about that. How do you guys come with the song together? The concept of the song. How was it related? Like how did you guys work on it?
Yeah, like the concept, it was a studio creation, Understand? There was a day like I went to the studio, so I was studied the little bit. Understand? Then that's how the concept came up, and that spot, like I went inside to the studio, like in the studio rather, and start recording myself, and boom, that song came, boom,
That song is a master, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro. To be honest, I've seen you performing the song on stage, and people always vibing to it, bro.
Like from community perform, normally people appreciate it, you understand? They support, they scream, the song is lit, and like shouts to my man, Skeng man,
I actually did the video, bro, for real, man. Yeah, so
it's trending right now, so you can check it out on YouTube,
So the special, where do you want to see yourself from now to next
year? Yeah, I can see like next level international, Yeah, man, that's the aim, that's my dream, inshallah. Yeah.
You're working on a mixtape, EP sort of, and then you are also having a show coming on the way. So tell us a bit about that, actually.
Yeah, like for the EP, it's December 31st. Understand that, like, process right now, recording songs and doing my thing. Understand now, waiting for the day. And like for the other concept, like the DFFT, the family fixed tape, with my brother, my cousin, bro, and to the last thing. Understand the foreigner neck on you.
And to the last thing, you were hiding. Where are you, bro? You should be here with us, bro.
So I'm not going to make, but like so be October last second, understand, telling things youth center, understand, so my thing, like the flies already out, making waves, yeah man, watch out.
Just this one question, where are you seeing the Gambian music heading to?
Music. Yeah, like Gambian music is moving fast, understand, because if you check it like now and before it's different, understand, like people are, getting used to these songs, like the performance of the artists, so it's a great one, it's really going big, so it's a Martin, it's really going big.
Just before I take a leave of you, we just need a freestyle, man. This is the morning show, man, so we need a freestyle. You don't come to the studio, just interview and then go home.
When I look in your eyes, for I see is a love. Your heart so clean, in my world. Your love is the blood in my vein that flow. With you, me never lonely, the woman of my world. True love me have for you, anything you want. Ask me, baby, cause your love carrying and kissing. Baby, come closer, your body full of feeling. A style and pattern, 1 in a million.
Hey, boy. That's special, man. And we having fun. One final words to the fans before we take a leave of you.
Yeah, I'm saying like finally, I'm saying to all my fans them out there, watch out for me. Understand, like I have a great plans for you. Understand, December, watch out. I'm dropping one of the baddest EP. Understand, and I'll be having collabos like watch out, surprise, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, and I wanna thank like my fan base and the whole of Gambia T-Town, you know what I mean? And you, Skeng man, and my sister there, man. Manager there, I see you, man, and the whole of Q City and the whole of QTV people. I'm grateful, you know what I mean?
Watch out, it's summer and we having fun, bro, to be honest. I'm saying bye from my end till I come your way next week. Bye-bye.
That was the click segment by Skeng Man Sweezy. I prefer Skeng in the studio.
Oh, yeah, I think it's more lively when he's here. You know, Buba is a case of his own.
He's a case of his own.
Yeah, so Jainaba, I'm told that Buba directed that video.
Yeah, so which means he's a director now.
So a man with multiple jobs.
With multiple talents. Why you also have time? But for me to be like that, I think you should show it. Wow, and this is by Is Adam as well. Wow, this one is by Is Adam. So I think
suma haftan bi so buge nga sol ko ak boots so buge nga sol ko ak cara waje I'm not seeing
wow so bo buge sol ko ak boots bo buge sol ko ak lan nga ne bo buge sol ko ak boots bo buge sol ko ak lan
so buge nga sol ko ak cara so buge nga sol ko ak leather shoes.
Okay.
Yep, mun nga ko doxal.
Waaw man sax suma daala yaa ngi ko gis da nga ne leather rek suma xel dem ci suma bos because B is provided by Miss B.
Sa daala yi nice.
Waaw so Miss B is at around Coco Ocean foofu noonu nekk tamit si ñu place bu es bi shopping center bi boori Sénégambia dem leen foofu noonu am daala yu mel nii wala lu ko daaxa suma abaya bi tam tey nii laa def abaya bi is provided by Is Adam. Is Adam jërëjëf si abaya bi like naa ko torop. Waaw masha Allah.
H Closet Hussein call leen ko si 7896713 370 5060 mu defal leen yu baax. am na ñun fii lu baax rek.
ñun lu baax rek waaye nag unfortunately duñ ñëwaat ba Monday.
dañ war a am a vacation to Dubai.
waaw duñ ñëwaat nag ba Monday inshallah. So till we come your way on Monday. Bye for now. Thanks for joining us.